What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 64 of One Big Fire. And we've got a massive fire in the house today, the one and only Queen V. So thankful for you to be able to jump in and hang out with us for a little bit as we're preparing for Agent to CEO in Cleveland next week. And it's going to be just fantastic to have you back in the room. You joined us a couple of years ago. I think it was the first year we brought it to Cleveland. You were there with us, and it was really magical how that day and that those 2 days and that event unfolded. Thanks to obviously the boys here and you in the room, and excited to have you back with us again next week.
Honored to be here. Excited. I never thought I would say I'd be so excited to go to Cleveland, but anytime it has anything to do with you guys, I'm in. And I remember going to Cleveland. I'm like, what am I doing in Cleveland? And you guys showed me a great time. I loved it. Al, I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to hug you. I'm excited to be around.
Well,
inspired. Can you hear me?
We got you back. Yeah, no worries. Well, I think we caught it. So Al, you were about to chime in there with what V was saying. You want to kind of bring us up to speed, kind of where we're at heading into a week out from Agent to CEO as well as Spectrum.
Yeah, and what's really cool is Veronica is a not only a leader, but she's an event queen as well. They put on events. We were talking before this event or before this podcast about the event you just hosted in Puerto Rico. Prior to that, 2 months ago, I was invited to be on their ship. They literally just chartered an entire ship, and we did an event out at sea called Build at Sea, which Veronica and her team were also involved in facilitating. And what I want to say about that one, I wasn't at Puerto Rico's. I'm sure it was amazing. I'd like to hear more about it, Veronica. I will tell you this. One of the things that has really inspired me to go to an extra level with our Agent to CEO on really the experience. Now, we always focus on the experience. We always have. I think we've learned that from Michael, Jay, you, John, when started with EGSs and masterminds, and it wasn't just a place where you got a notebook full of notes. You came away changed. It changed the way you think. It changed the way that you feel about yourself. And Veronica, you've taken that to a whole new level. You've raised the bar in that, and I felt that on the ship. Obviously, I wasn't. Not to get too personal or whatever, I wasn't in a great place when I stepped onto that ship. When I got off that ship, because of the people that you surround yourself with, everything changed for me. And that is the level that we bring to our events, because we don't want people just walking out. We want them floating out and want them thinking bigger than they've ever thought before. So thank you for that invite. Thank you for you and Tony and your entire crew are amazing. And now we get to do it again in Cleveland. So yeah, excited.
So V, kind of unpack a little bit.
I'm super grateful. And
sorry, a little delay there. So I was just going to have you kind of unpack what we were talking about prior to jumping in, really around kind of the event coming out of Build at Sea and kind of what you stepped into in Puerto Rico, but also the leadership component with the ladies and the mastermind. I think there's some really good nuggets in there with the kind of the Be Still sisterhood. I would love for you to unpack that a little bit, because it's hard for a lot of folks right now to find that silence, to find that stillness, right? They're just constant reaction, constant chaos. And I just love how you frame that from a Be Still standpoint, and what do we need to let go of? If you would just mind kind of sharing and unpacking that, I think it's really, really powerful concept to understand and grasp.
Oh yeah. Can you guys hear me okay though? Do you see a lag, or are we good?
No, we're good. Well,
okay. First of all, I just want to say, Albie, thank you for your trust. When people come on these events, right? I think we need to do better as leaders, right? People are investing their money, their time. The most valuable thing that they have is their time away from their family, time away from their business. And I think the conference industry has gotten to a point where they have lost respect for people's most valuable thing, which is their time, their most valuable asset. And I've gotten to a point now that if I am going to invest my time, I really want to make sure I'm spending time with the right people and that it's impacting more than just, something that is just a common, like industry, I would say fad. I really want to create a memorable experience for people, but not just a memory that is just, oh my God, partied hard, or, it, what we used to see. Now it's like, can I truly impact this person's life? Can I make them, can play a small part, not make them, can I play a small part in their life, whether it's personal, whether it's helping them think different with what they're doing with their finances, whether how they feel at home, forgiveness, just evolving. So like I'm on a mission. I'm going to tell people, like, stop going to conferences just to go to conferences. Stop just spending your money on, chasing the next shiny object and the FOMO of feeling like you're missing out. And like now they say addition by subtraction, right? I'm looking at my calendar. What are all the things that I can eliminate that are no longer moving my soul, my business forward? And, Al, when we put together that Build at Sea, one of the things that I knew I wanted to do was be really, really intentional about how it flowed, right? Everything from the morning workout groups, for the morning prayer groups, from the morning meetup groups, from the couples meetups, where it's like, hey, a lot of us work together with our spouses. What are the struggles we go through? I don't want to go to a conference and hear from the person up on stage always talking about how they're just crushing numbers. A lot of people who are crushing numbers, they're ending up divorced. Their souls are crushed. And I'm not saying that just because you're doing great in your business that's happening in your life, but some people use business to mask their personal lives. And I've been there. So like where I'm at now, and this is what God put on my heart, is like, what if I could just impact people's lives in a positive manner? Because I know what it is to feel empty. I know what it is to not be honest with myself. And I want to create an environment where we can be more than just business colleagues, that I can truly impact their lives. And Al, when you came in humble, you're someone I look up to. And for you to even trust me and Tony to say, hey, I can't wait to spend time together. And I think one of Tony and I's superpower, at one point I looked at shame from a place of shame, was that we were always vulnerable when we were struggling. We were always vulnerable when we were going through challenges in our lives. And what I thought at one point was a weakness, I realized was part of my story, to help people know, like, look, I see you and I'm a safe place for you. If you're ever going through something, I'm never going to judge you. I'm here to let you know we're human beings first. So Al, when you reached out to me and said, hey, V, I can't wait to spend some time with you guys. Always, excited to see you and Tony. You guys have always been someone that I look up to, because you've never been afraid to be open and honest about some of the areas you guys have struggled in. Sites. I'll just use an example, like, our marriage, or my son when he went through rehab, like we were always open about those things. And by the way, we've been shunned about that too. But it really has given me, just this belief that if I could just connect with people on a human level, and I could let them know, like, real estate is what we do, but we're humans first, right? And if I could pray for you, or if I can let you know you're not alone, or if I can let you know how we overcame certain things, I hope that I can just make an impact in your life. So this cruise that we did had a layer of business development, infrastructure. Like, we did an implementation lab. We rolled up our sleeves. Let's talk about your database. Let's look at your database. Let's look at your processes. Where are you using AI to scale? How are you using AI to be more human? But what was not expected were the moments where we actually say, hey, by the way, we have a prayer group in the morning, and if you'd like to join us. It started off with maybe 10 people. And the last day, it was nearly half the entire conference attending the prayer group, especially in the light of everything we've got going on in our country, right? We need more prayer. I don't care what you believe in. We need more prayer. We need more connection. And we need to know that we have community, regardless of what our differences are and whatever we might be going through personally. You have community you can lean on. So, and Al, you walking in and being open to just connect with us at that level, that's real leadership. Because people look at you, you've made it, you've built one of the largest organizations, you are that person that we look up to, but you also are humble enough to say, like, I'm here with you in community, and I too need to grow in certain areas of my life. And that's what, to me, true leadership is. And from there, it's just, this year I made it a point that the experiences that I would create would be more deeper connection, more true stories, and less about shoving success down people's throat if they're broken inside. So that is important to me. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I hope that it's not lagging. But I just want you guys to know, like, that is where I stand. And I know what it is to be number one in the world, but I also know what it is to be number one, but yet broken, because I was masking my success. I was masking my pain and success. But if I can help people have a beautiful balance where you could still be the overachiever, but like Abel, who was on that ship, says, hey man, I document every morning when I take my kids to school. He has triplets. If you don't know Abel Gilbert, you need to know him. He has triplets. But it started off where the kids, because he has got triplets, would fight about who was shotgun in the morning. And because he couldn't keep up, he started documenting who was riding shotgun, right? And then it started, he realized these are memories. These are memories for me and my kids. These are memories that I'm documenting. And guess what? I won't start my day without my prayer, without my morning goal session with my wife, and without documenting and celebrating that I take my kids to school every morning. What are the little things that we could do, right? And from him sharing that story, and Nick Krem coming on and teaching us how to use AI to become more human and to find who we really are. And people wrote their life anthem as a result to learning how to tell themselves, a little bit more positive things to themselves. And some of you guys are using AI just for automation or to really scale your business, but using it as our gratitude song, that when we wake up in the morning, we have a song playing in our mind to remind us that we were meant to do wonderful things in this life, right? And some of us wrote a song to our dying mother who has cancer and dedicated a song to them. Some of us wrote a forgiveness letter to the person who hurt us, and it's a healing. It was healing. And now we have a playlist that those of us who bonded on that ship, we know each other's life mission. We can hold each other accountable now. We can say, hey, how are you doing on this area of your life that you were struggling? Because we were able to write up what I would consider, and Al, you tell me if I'm wrong, some of them were Grammy Award winning worthy songs that I would say I would listen to that as a playlist. So that ship, that cruise inspired me to stop playing small when I have the biggest responsibility, when people trust me with their most valuable asset, which is their time away from their family, and that I have the one opportunity to make an impact in their life. And that is what Be Still Sis also, where that came from. And that is something sacred. We locked ourselves in a room for 3 days and just got real honest about where we're playing small in life, in our families, in our faith, and in our business, and who we surround ourselves with. What are the toxic things that we allow in our mind that are infecting our businesses, infecting our relationships, infecting our families, and declaring that we have permission to have accountability in our circle. Yeah. And that's what that's about.
Yeah, it is. You're muted, Al.
Oh, sorry about that, John. I wish you were on the ship for you can kind of experience this. But the good news is, John, we're going to be duplicating that at Agent to CEO in about a week and 2 days. So and I know, John, you've been really the heartbeat and facilitator of this event for so many years, and I appreciate your flexibility and allowing us to be water, if you will, and kind of like allow it to transform into. So 2 things I wanted to say. First of all, you had mentioned events, big events versus small events. our first experience, at least mine anyway, John, was with the mastermind. The Kinder Reese mastermind was a small event, 3 a year. It was in really cool places. It reminds me a lot of what we're doing with Build a little bit, but just it's definitely a different flow to it from an event standpoint. But the size, the intimacy, the connections that happen, that's not going to happen at an event with 5, 6, 7,000 people at it. It happens with, say, 50 to 100 tops. That's why we stopped selling tickets at 100 for agent to CEO, because we want the room small. We want the room intimate. We want those connections. So I wanted to just ask you guys if you're seeing it. Like, I'm seeing, this feels like a movement. It feels like, I'm not saying pushing people move away from large events. What I am seeing is a lot more smaller, more compact, more intimate events happening. From the regional rallies are a little bit bigger. I wouldn't put that into that category. They're great, but that magic ain't happening like it is at these small builds, right? Where these relationships, and it's not just a relationship like, hey, I got to know Veronica. Hey, I got to know John J. Kinder, John Kitchens. It's they connect. And the last thing that I want to share was the song thing. So, that was something I had no idea was going to happen, by the way. And nor if you would have even told me that was going to be the outcome, I wouldn't have gotten the whole impact of how deep and connected that made everybody. It wasn't just for me. I made 3 songs on the plane on the way back. I literally listened to them sometimes twice a day. And it still impacts me every single morning. Before the gym, that's what I'm pumping into my brain and my subconscious is what I'm facilitating in my own life 5 years out, where I want it to be and what I want it to look like. Also, what I don't want it to look like. I would have never, even got it if you would have said, hey, we're going to go on the ship. There's going to be lots of good speakers and Nick Krem's going to come up and talk about AI and you're going to walk out with a song or two. Like, until we live this, which we're about to with Agent to CEO, it's not going to have the luster in it. But I'm excited for everybody who's going to be there, to experience that. And what you said, V, was it connected everybody. That was something that I didn't really kind of think about. I mean, of course, I knew we were connected, but the songs, how everyone was sharing their songs, very intimate things, in these songs. It's because it's not just where you want to be in the next 5 years. That we call that the perfect day. We're recoining it. Hopefully Nick Krem doesn't mind. Perfect day was a Frank Kern exercise we've been doing for years. And John and Kinder told me about it a long time ago. But this is 2.0. This is the perfect day, Frank Kern's perfect day on steroids. And it goes beyond where he left off, where he's kind of laid the foundation. This picks up and it's just the sky's the limit on it. So
yeah, because perfect day just pulls out core identity, who you are at your core, and just creates a level of awareness. And now once you have that level of awareness, then you have power, right? You have choice. You can do something about it or not. Whereas the power of utilizing AI as kind of that thought partner to help you navigate and pull things out of you faster, to me is the magic, because now that brings it to life, right? And then it puts it into positive reinforcement in the form of music and song, to where now you're hearing the reinforcement. And so important, right? What we hear starts to play the tape recorder in the back of the mind. So being able to fill with, the stuff that's going to serve us instead of, just whatever noise and junk that goes in. But there's obviously, Al, what you were saying, but even with UV, right? So looking back over, all the years and all the events and everything that we've done, we kind of set the stage and a lot of things unfold. Like you said, the prayer groups just became bigger. Like we didn't really intend that to be, but there's a great book. And I pulled it up real quick because I don't know if you remember, but it's called Moments of Impact. And it's about designing and obviously there's some design and some intent. There's some structure. There's like certain people next to certain people, just so you can find differences and where things are in common. So there's a little bit of design, but the magic happens to your point when you can come in and just be vulnerable, right? And you can just be transparent and you can just let that go. And Al, to your point, that doesn't happen in massive rooms. That's where the power of the tribe comes in, when you get the smaller intimate to where you can really connect and build the trust fast versus in those big rooms. And so I'm, obviously Agent to CEO, a little bias, is kind of one of all-time favorite events throughout all the masterminds and even Kitchen Table. But it really is, because it takes them on a journey, like you were talking about, right? From a business standpoint, it takes them on a flow and a journey. And that's why we end with leadership. And that's why we end with self-leadership, because I just don't believe you can coach and lead another human until you can lead yourself first. And first rule of leadership is lead by example, and, be the example. And that's, I'm really excited for what we have in store and for next week.
Yeah, I think it's important what you just mentioned about, sometimes you don't know the whole structure, or you have a plan and the plan kind of shifts, right? These ladies actually who I invited to this personal, intimate setting, actually, it was put on my heart while I was in Italy this year. I've traveled more than what I ever imagined. Jay will be like, "Where you at, girl?" But that was actually by design. I wanted to see if I had a real business. I wanted to see if I had a real team, and I needed to step production team in a way that allowed me to scale. I'm conflicted with the team situation sometimes, because I'm at a point where I love the platform that we have at EXP, and I could spend all my time, right, just doing that. And I could say, that's it, I'm sunsetting the team, right? That could be, that's it. And there's no ego in that, but I feel like God is saying I'm not done yet with that, but it needs to look different. And this year I put my team to the test, even after having ran a team and it nearly imploding a few years back, thinking I had the right formula, and I outsourced the heart too soon. And I went too deep into systems that forgot about the soul of the team and the soul, the essence of who we are. And I had to go back, and come back in and, make sure the vision was clear. But this year I have a remarkable, I'm just so excited about the future of this team and what I've been able to, what I would say, the proof of concept, right? I don't need to be in the weeds every day, but I can still cast the vision, and I can lead great leaders in place, and I can groom those leaders up. And as long as they know the overall vision, they can be a part of it. So this year I traveled a lot for a lot of different reasons. And my team is more profitable this year. We've been number one, Jay, as much as we try to avoid it, it just keeps on happening. Number one, 6 months in a row in the state of Florida for EXP, and probably trending about 9 out of the 9 months, 7 of the 9 months. So right now leading number one in the state. And it is because the vision is clear. It is because I have very good leaders that I'm coaching up, I'm helping lead. And I've put people together intentionally, John, even though it didn't make sense to them. I said, you guys are going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to learn to work together. It's not meant for you guys to always have the same, leadership style. You have to mesh, and we've got to put this community together. And in business, I've done it. And in this group this weekend that I brought together, in my mind, when God put them on my heart, I was like, they don't make sense. Some of them don't know each other. And I was being very obedient and saying, but it's meant, this is what it's meant to be. I brought a group of women together. I said, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to bring you guys together. Some of you guys are going to fall off. And whoever ends up being in the room, it's because you were meant to be there. Some are going to commit, but aren't really going to show up. And it's exactly how it happened. And then once in the room, what was funny, John, was the amount of diversity of leadership styles and beliefs, and right. And I'm a big believer in diversity of mindset, diversity of ideas, and even levels of leadership. And what was interesting was I was I'm walking in my faith and I'm unapologetic about that. And these women were in different levels of their journey in leadership and also faith. And what I'm so proud of is at the end, the bond that came out, and even we admit like, at the beginning, we weren't sure how we were going to mesh together. But it was intention of who was in the room, who sat in the room, who sat next to who.
Yep.
And you don't know each other, but I believe there's going to be some magic here when you can just learn to, I would say, appreciate the diversity of leadership styles and people's journey. And it just gets me excited because I believe I know what my God-given talent is: being a connector and assembling teams. That is my God-given talent. Like, I don't know, maybe in a different life, I wanted to be a baseball coach, like I would have like picked, like players to win championships. And that is what I want to do in this lifetime, is bring people together and make an impact. And even when they never imagine, I'm like, you two need to meet. Something is telling me you two will like hit it off. Something's going to happen here. There's magic here. And for me, I live for those moments. So I can't wait to be in the room for Agent to CEO, because I know I'm going to meet people that I can perhaps connect with and vibe with, and something beautiful is going to spark and or be reinforced with people who I believe are in my world for a reason.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love that. It's the whole plus, minus, and equal concept. And you get into rooms and you're like, well, I want to be, the smallest, but sometimes you get into rooms and you're like, okay, I'm kind of biggest in this discipline of life, but I could always grow in these other disciplines. So I'm going to be open to receive and listen for what I can learn. And it could help me in another equity of my life. Right. And so I think that's just an important reminder. And what you were saying there, that was where my mind was going. I was like, plus, minus, and equals, right? There's somebody that's a little bit further ahead that can pour into somebody. There's somebody that's just kind of at the bottom looking up for somebody to pour into them. And then there's that running mate, right? Like, I got you, V. I'm gonna text you every day. I want you to text me every day. We're gonna hold each other accountable and gonna do this thing. So it's so good to what you just said right there. We can always learn something, right, from someone in some area of our life at any given time.
You know what that reminded me of? What V just talked about, Jay. It kind of reminded me of two things, actually. The diversity of leadership, and when you said that, the question that entered into my mind was, okay, is it healthy to have different styles of leadership? I think it is, but what binds everyone together? And it reminded me of NAEA. And man, when I used to just come visit you guys as kind of like a client, but more when I became one of your coaches. And man, there was a lot of diversity going on in there, with different personalities, different leadership styles for sure. But there was one bond that bonded everyone together. It was their core values. Said differently, it's their beliefs. And you had mentioned faith. And when you can I think that you can have all the diversity you want, but if you don't have an agreement on a set of beliefs that are non-negotiable, you're going to have a train wreck on your hands, especially with the diversity of different, personalities, right?
Oh my God.
Jay, I'd like your input on that, man, because you all assembled a pretty amazing team of misfits, and but it was amazing. Like, it worked, but
yeah, man, it was
now too, right?
Yeah, it was very choreographed and very intentional, almost to the point that I didn't even really understand that it was going to work how it worked, right? Like we just got so good at hiring the wrong people that we got really good at hiring the right people.
Yes.
You kind of have to go through, I could tell stories on people that, that are the wrong fit. When the hair on my arm is standing up right now when I think about it. Like, some of these people that didn't share the same core values of that you do, and it's how we behave, how this company was built. And when you start integrating the hiring process doesn't begin until two people sit in the room and ask core value directed questions around those core values it doesn't matter what the resume says. If they don't match the core values, they don't move forward. And I saw that happen, and then you go around the system and try to hire somebody and bring them in, and it's like it'll kill the culture. Like it's like, it's unbelievable how the wrong, and when you got somebody on your team that vouches for that person, and then they're a day or two later working and doing something, and they're like make an excuse, and they're like pulling them aside and be like, listen, motherfucker, I put my neck on the line for you. Where you're like, you don't make excuses. Like the what people will do to protect that is incredible, and make sure that they'll help somebody to no end to make sure that they're successful, because that's the values that they live by. And it wasn't something I controlled. It was something that they controlled. The team controlled it. And it was fascinating to me. And y'all have heard this story before, but Mike and I both, Megan, who was running everything, and she was, at the point of contact for me and Mike, it was me and Mike co-CEO, which we eventually, split, divide and conquer. But Megan was our direct person, and she led everyone else, and she was the main leader. And all these things I've been saying to Megan for years and years and years, and and then she quit, right? And there was a whole leadership lesson and all that. But the thing that was fascinating is we called Clay Mask, our mentor, and we're like, what do we do? And he's like, you got to meet with all of them. And we're like, oh, we got to meet with all of them. Like, we were scared to do it because Mike and I were out in the field doing things. I didn't even know everybody's name. And I sat down, I started sitting in those meetings with each individual person, and they were all saying the shit I say all the time. And I was like, this is unbelievable. They literally had been being led by Megan, who was led by us, and she was leading them the same way we led her. And it was such a great evidence of leadership, and the absence of, when someone leaves and they leave a place better than what when they got there. That was what we were experiencing. Was like, she's literally been leading people as good as they could possibly be led, lead to the core values. And it was fascinating to see. And it was like, we all knew each other, and we didn't, but it was something I was scared of, but then it was probably the best example of a great leader that I had ever seen at the time. And so, but that culture was real, man. I mean, we fought for each one of the words on each one of those core values on those posters on the wall, and we lived them day and night. And that was who we were. And there wasn't anybody that was allowed in that didn't have them. And even to the point, like one of ours was get shit done, right? Just get shit done. Like, we don't want to make no excuses, 100-0, get shit done. And then we would go in and be like, should it be get stuff done? No, maybe shit's not the right word. No, motherfucker, it's get shit done. Like, if you're going to be offended by us saying get shit done, then you probably ain't going to fit in around here. Like, and that was true. It was true.
You weren't going to make it
by that. It was just a word, right? And so it was fascinating. It was really, it was a work of art when I look back and think about it. And when you're in it, it's amazing. It feels so good to be around people that behave the same way, and are willing to go, go the extra mile, make, add value, make a difference, always making the right decision, do the right thing. You try to integrate these things into your life, and you try to teach it to your kids. But when you got a work family that vibes like that, man, it is a noticeable thing. And we learned all this by going to Infusionsoft and Clay Mask, and we watched a company bigger than us build that culture that they had, and we learned from that, and we went and built it because of that. But it's not something you see in every company you walk through the doors, that's for sure.
I think that's what I when I think of the honey badgers, right? And I think of those who are like the real die hard honey badger ambassadors. Like Jay and I always kind of just talk about, he's like, dude, that's such a honey badger move. Like it's just, again, you just know what it means to be a honey badger. And I think we're just scrappy, we're just like just willing to do whatever it takes, right? And I think that DNA is very similar to when you're building a team, or you're building a mission, or you're building a movement. You just know who has that DNA. And there are people who say they are a honey badger, and then there's others who they embody being a honey badger. And I think you guys have just done a great job. And I think even like people that are again, building teams, right? If you can just build something with that type of mission and you just that DNA that people just embody it. And I think my team that I'm super proud of is like, I have some core leaders that they live and breathe the big team, like they're like 13, 14, 15 years in with me, 6 years in with me, 8 years. And I'm like, why do you stay? And I'll ask those questions. I'm like, like, tell me. And they're like, pero like, we're Fig Team for life, like we really, and then the acronym of it, right? People are like, sometimes like, it's just Figueroa short. Like, no, there is actually a meaning to it. It's like family, inspiration, and growth. Like, how are we impacting you? And what are we doing to inspire each other to keep on going and growing? And I mean, like, we have people who have, stop drinking. We have people who have, like, finally got out of their, BS excuses and like they're growing and they're finally reading books. They're finally like, accepting that there is an evolution of who we're supposed to be as leaders, and from who they became to who they are today. I'm like, that's what we represent.
Yeah.
Meeting, inspiring them. And I just think you guys have done a great job, especially with Honey Badgers of, again, in NAEA, and watching your guys' brotherhood. The bond that you guys have is a prime example of at least what I know I want. Like, who's my running mate? I got some running mates that I'm like, these are my diehard people, right? And you guys are like, people be like, Kendra Reese, Michael Reese, Al J, Michael Kitchens, like that's something that's really beautiful. And I think you guys have really set an example. What I love, Jay, we've talked about on the golf course. I'm like, tell me when it wasn't good, right? Tell me about, like, how do you that, because a lot of times people think things are supposed to be perfect, but what I respect is when things aren't right and you grow through that, because you can't tell me that there has never been a disagreement. You can't tell me that there hasn't been a breakup, that there hasn't been a moment that you had to pick up the phone and say, hey, how do we fix this? That to me is what I want more of.
The valleys are way more to learn from, way better.
Yeah, we call it perfectly imperfect.
Mm.
And I actually have a question for all three of you guys. So you were talking about your team, Veronica, and how you're like, maybe it's time to move on from it, but I have a bigger vision. God's calling me. We talk about core values, and if I'm just going to be completely transparent, when I first heard about them through coaching, Kindery's coaching, I just thought it was just something I had to knock out and do and put them up on my wall, which I did. We tried to live like, but I'm going to be honest. I didn't get it. The part I understood what they were. I understood that we had to have them. I didn't understand how they had to, like, we're literally, that had to be the foundation. It was the footers of the rest. And without it, you're leaving maybe millions on the table with regard to money. When it rolls up to profitability, because you just said you're the most profitable, I bet you have the most alignment with your beliefs and values. Here's my question, though. It's not that difficult if you have a team of, let's say, 10 to get everybody in alignment, right? I mean, it's just 10 people. It's not too difficult, right? So when you're thinking about core values, your core beliefs, your do's and don'ts, your non-negotiables, and you're scaling to what we were kind of talking in our private chat about, what is the next level after the mega team? What's that going to look like? What's it going to be called? And we shot around the word enterprise, but whatever it's going to be called, right? What happens when you have 100 people on your team, 200 people on your team, 300? We have 14,000 people in our Honey Badger Nation family in the Facebook group, and we struggle. I couldn't tell you if every single one of those people were aligned with our values or not, to be really honest. I doubt all of them are. That's what I want to solve for next week. What do y'all have to say about that? I'll just throw you the curveball. Go.
Dude, I mean, it's impossible. I mean, it not at the level that we're talking about, right? Like, I think all you can do is you can put the tuning fork out there for the people that are, and you can you said something, Veronica, that I recognize seen, and it was probably the most valuable thing that I experienced in my life up to this point. Even I would say it really is like watching a human being that you're leading become a better version of themselves is probably one of the most rewarding things you can do in your life. Like it really is. And seeing who that you people living up to what they're capable of is fascinating. It's a fascinating thing. And then you get to play a role in it is a blessing. So I don't know that from 14,000 strong, I think we can have a tuning fork to the, and the ones that vibrate at this level, we all kind of, you can feel it. And I think that's all you can do. I don't think that we don't have the kind of process of weeding out and who we let in and who we don't, and we don't control it. And so there's certainly going to be people that are not all of the same core values, but I think all you can do is you can speak put the signal out, that's all you can really do.
The reminder to your question, Al, is, the core values, they attract, but they also repel. And to Jay's point, the more that you can tune that fork and amplify what the values are, what does Honey Badger Nation stand for, what's the mission, what are our values, what are our shoulds and should nots, that will send through. The big thing is, you look for those that want to lean in, and you help them lean in more. And that's where the leaders creating leaders, that was one of our values at NAEA as well. So you're just pouring into them. But the reminder is that you want it to repel the people as well. And that's why fewer core values is better. But the rule of thumb is that people have to be more than 50%. So if you have 5 core values, they have to match 3. Non-negotiable, they have to match. They don't have to match the other 2, but there's 3 that they will die on the sword with you with. And that's really what you're looking for. But when you get to that big, you're definitely not going to have all alignment. At 10, you can probably get, if you have 5 core values, you can probably get 10 people that have all the same 5 core values. But you get to like V size, you get to, where Kyle's at, you get to, the bigger organizations, man, you want to tune that fork out there as much as you can. And then you got your ride or diers, right? Like V was talking about, and they're going to continue to press that message as well. And you'll repel, and that's what you want to do.
All right, I'm going on Amazon and get me a tuning fork.
Well, listen, I live this every day with my team, and again, even people are like, how do you run your team and you're not physically there every single day? But they feel my heart. They know the vision. Every Monday, no matter where I'm at, I host my morning huddle, mindset, motivational Mondays. I do not waver. That has to happen. And in light of everything that's going on right now, and we've been kicking off our morning Monday huddle for about a couple months with prayer. And, we had someone the other day say like, kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. And I said, I respect that. And, let's talk through that. And especially this week when everything obviously was going on in the world, I had more people reach out to me and say, thank you for not wavering and for, being the way I am when it comes to being open and honest and vulnerable as a leader. And, I think it's Jay, you said, right, it's impossible, right, to get everybody to be, aligned with our core values. But, I think what's important is if you could just be true to who we are, like what this mission stands for, like people are they're going to armor up, they're going to rally for you, and they're going to make it stronger. And it's true. People will either feel uncomfortable. They're like, I'm out, but that's okay because you're so principle based and you're so clear. And by the way, companies and teams and visions, they go through seasons, right? Like Jay says, the valleys, right? And it's okay right now in this moment to say, hey, we're reigniting this fire. We are so excited. Who are the honey badgers we don't know about? Like, who do we need to celebrate? Like, who do we need to connect with? Where's the next wave of leaders? Like right now, I'll tell you what I'm on a mission on. And I've said it loud. When I got these ladies together, I was like, I am no longer the leader that wants to lead from the front of the room and be the one on stage and the one celebrated. It actually like kind of irks my my soul right now. I now know I'm following my mission to be in the back of the room and bring talent to the front of the room. I'm no longer just Veronica Figueroa. I know I'm a platform to discover leaders. I'm a platform to help shine the light on leaders. So I need to go out there and find those leaders and understand their story and celebrate them and help them scale if they have or an idea inside of them that they don't even know how to execute on. And then from there, I'm gonna help them. That is my God-given talent right now. So but I'm getting louder and louder and louder about that. How am I doing it? Guess what? Interviewing more women, highlighting more leaders. So that's my mission statement right now. And I'm just gonna get louder on it and amplify it. So I just think we just need to, how do you do it? You amplify your mission and the vision, even if at one point you were silent about it, get loud. Something has to reawaken, and we got to get louder together.
Let's get
I love it.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got to jump, guys.
B, thank you.
Hey, have a great day.
Awesome.
All
right, fellas. Well, I appreciate you guys. And if you guys haven't got
we got
CFV
8 tickets left. 8 tickets, and it's sold out. So it'll be gone by the end of the week.
Awesome. All right, fellas. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and see you guys in Cleveland. See you.